Welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today for this edition of the IMI SIMI Singapore Convention Seminar Series, which is more of a mouthful, I think, every time I say it. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Laura Skillen. I'm the Executive Director of International Mediation Institute. And before I introduce Marcus and therefore our guest, I'm just going to go through a quick housekeeping. So if you have not used Zoom webinar before, you'll notice that there's a section called Q&A at the bottom of the screen on your computer or on your phone. If you do have any questions for Pasit as he's going along or afterwards, please pop them into the Q&A section and we'll address them down the line. But I'll now introduce Marcus Lim, the CEO of SIMI, who will tell us a little bit about our fantastic guest today.
Thanks, Laura. So thanks everyone for joining us. I have the pleasure of introducing a friend of mine, Mr. Pasit, who is currently the Managing Director of the THAC, the Thailand Arbitration Center, which is, I would say, the premier ADR center now in Thailand, and is set up to promote and provide world-class service of ADR. Pasit has a very illustrious history. I will not have the time to go through all of it, but he has been a judge, he has worked with the government, and I think at one point he was also the Deputy Permanent Secretary to the MOJ. So certainly, Pasit, we're very lucky to have you with us this evening, and I'm very happy to hear you share us more about what it's like for Thailand and its thoughts about Singapore Convention and even mediation, international mediation in general. So Pasit, thank you very much, and I'll pass the time over to you.
Okay. Thank you, Marcus. Thank you, Lola, and good evening, everyone. It is 6 p.m. in Bangkok. Firstly, I would like to thank for the organizers to invite me to join this wonderful occasion to speak about Thailand and international mediation and Singapore Convention. So let me switch to the my small presentation. So what I would like to do here for today is giving you a big picture about mediation in Thailand and about how Thailand thinking or considering about Singapore Convention. All right. Firstly, I would like to give you a big picture about international commercial mediation. For Thai people, they know that mediation has been recognized as a fast, cost-effective way of resolving disputes. In Thailand, there is no problem, and we know mediation for quite a long time, and we know that it is cost-effective. It is a fast way to resolve the dispute. We know that the process could maintain business relationship. The process is less costly, and the process is less time consuming. However, business parties in Thailand, they are so concerned whether settlement agreement, when they go into the mediation process, it would be enforceable or not. The enforceability is the main concern of what business parties in Thailand are very concerned, and they think about that. And sometimes they don't think that the mediation can help them from the dispute they're stuck in because of the enforceability. Okay, so anytime when they have a dispute, they will not think about mediation first, even though they are familiar with mediation, but they think about the problem of enforceability. So they choose to go to the court instead of going through the mediation process. This is in the concept of our businessmen here. So because of the enforceability concern among Thai business people, this decreases the popularity of international commercial mediation for Thai businessmen. And I think, for me, myself, I think that the United Nations Conventions on International Settlement Agreement resulting on the mediation or Singapore Convention can set up a new regime in international alternative dispute resolution for Thailand. I think that for Singapore Convention, anyone know that the Singapore Convention try to replicate the success of New York Convention. It applies to the settlement agreements between international parties having places of business in different states. And the SC and SGC or Singapore Convention, it creates a system of the universal recognition and enforcement of mediated settlement agreement in contracting state. So it makes the settlement agreement internationally more easily to enforce. Contracting states to the Singapore Convention becomes more attractive for international party. Let's talk about Thailand and mediation. For Thailand, as I mentioned earlier, Thailand has long been familiar with the mediation. We can trace back the mediation that we could right now to the era of the Sukhothai kingdom since 1257. So it would be like 800 years ago. The mediation at that time mostly related to family disputes, and monks and kings play an important role as the mediators. So people go to the kings, sometimes they go to monks to mediate cases, right? In the past 150 years, the roles of mediation had been transferred to district chief, the sub-district headman. And finally, such roles passed to judges when the concept of modern state will flourish in Thailand. Before the modern state, 150 years ago, we have the ruling of district and sub-district under the monarchy. They have their own independence, but they have to subordinate themselves in some way to the monarchy in the capital. But not all every transaction or not all everything is under the king alone. But after the idea of modern state in King Lama V, about 150 years ago, the king at that time they pull in all the power into the center, and the king is absolute monarchy at that time, and he ruled all the kingdom under his power. So the roles of mediators and mediation proceeding transfer to judges under the concept of modern state, under the absolute monarchy of the king since then. And the role of judges in mediation has been codified in Thai Civil Procedure Code since 1934. Thai Civil Procedure Code, Section 19 and Section 20, empower judges to employ their best effort to mediate, no matter what stage the court proceeding is. So the Thai Civil Procedure Code gives the judges a power to mediate the case anytime they want to, right? And in 1979, in the Consumer Protection Act, mediation also becomes mandatory proceedings in all consumer cases. It means that if you would like to submit a case or a dispute to the Consumer Protection Board, the board will force you, the party who filed the complaint to the board and the other party to mediate the case first. Mediation is also mandatory for petty case. Under Thai Civil Procedure Code, Section 193, which amended in 1999. In 1999, we have a big amendment for the petty cases, and the new petty cases under the Thai Civil Procedure Code mandates every party in the petty cases must go to the mediation proceedings before they can continue to the court proceeding. So every petty case must proceed with the mediation first before any action would be taken. And judges becomes the mediator in petty cases. Under the Civil Procedure Code, Section 193, the law assigns the sitting judge to be the mediator, and judge has to mediate the case before they can continue to try the case. So it's a little strange here for Section 193 for me. Judges, when they sit in the petty cases, they have to do the mediation first, and after the mediation fails, then judges will try the case. So judges will be a mediator and then will decide or rule on the case if the mediation fails. That is the proceeding of petty cases under the Thai Civil Procedure Code currently. The same idea about the mandatory mediation was shown again in 2008 in the Act of Consumer Protection Procedure 2008. The purpose of having mandatory mediation proceeding is to expedite the proceeding in consumer protection cases, because they think that if they force the parties to go through the mediation proceeding, the case will be resolved faster than going to the trial proceeding. And the same idea is employed in the Consumer Protection Procedure Act. Judges has played the role of mediator as they do in the petty cases. And however, in the Act of 2008 for the Consumer Protection Procedure Act, the court officers are appointed to assist judges in mediation. I think this is the first time that we have the appearance of court officer to help judges in doing the mediation proceeding under the court attached mediation process. Okay. So you can see from all the development in mediation in Thai law. Under Thai law, as I have elaborated, you can see that all mediation process, the law assigns it to be undertaken by the judges and the court. And then not until 2019, then we have the Mediation Act, which stipulate about the mediation out of the court, right? So this is the latest progress in domestic mediation. In Mediation Act 2019, it is an attempt to establish universal out-of-court mediation process. However, in my view, it's not an universal act dealing with the mediation, since it limits the mediation proceedings only to the disputes occur in the responsibility of government agencies. It means that if you would like to do the mediation under the Mediation Act of 2019, the dispute must be undertaken by the government agencies first, and then the government agencies can take care of the dispute under the Mediation Act 2019. And dispute which falls under the Mediation Act 2019 is limited only for the disputed claim not over 5 million Thai baht or 160,000 US dollar. If the claim is more than that, you cannot do the mediation under the Mediation Act 2019. And then you have to go to the court and do the court attached mediation proceeding if you would like to do it under the current law of Thailand. By the development of this system of law, it doesn't mean that the law prohibits people to do the mediation outside the arena of the law. But because, as I said, people in Thailand, they are so concerned about enforceability of the settlement agreement. Maybe they would like to do mediation, but because mediation outside of the legal system or outside of the law, they think that this mediation process is done nothing good for them, because if the parties they agree and then they enter into the settlement agreement, but the settlement agreement cannot be enforced under the law. This is what they generally think right now. If the settlement agreement is not enforced under the law, then it is zero. It is nothing for them to do the mediation process. So you can see the influence of Thai judges or Thai court system over the mediation process. And then right now, the Mediation Act 2019, even though it is in place right now, but it is in the transition period. It will not be in full effective until the end of this year. So you can see the situation of mediation in Thailand right now. It doesn't mean that the Thai people, they are hostile or they don't like the mediation. They do like the mediation, but because of the development of the law in Thailand, it appears to them, to a Thai community, that mediation is good only under the court, the judges, and under the law. If you do mediation out of the court, out of the law, then the result of the mediation, the settlement agreement, is not enforceable by itself, and they don't like it if it is not enforceable in the court of law. Something like that. This is a situation in Thailand. For me, it is a little bit difficult to explain that, but I think this is the situation. So the settlement agreement, I would like to give you some more detail in the Mediation Act of 2019, which is, as I said, the first act dealing with the out-of-court mediation process. The settlement agreement concluded under the Thai Mediation Act are enforceable without the leave of court, but by the certification issued by Department of Right and Liberty Protection. It means that if you done the mediation process under the Thai Mediation Act 2019, your settlement agreement will be enforceable. You don't have to go to the court. You can go to the Department of Rights and Liberty Protection, which is under the Ministry of Justice. Ask them to give you some certification, and you can submit this certification to the officer who has the power to execute the certification, similar to execution of judgment. All right. Most of mediation cases, as I said, in Thailand, I will give you some number. In Thailand right now, most of the mediation cases in Thailand are conducted in the court proceeding. There are more than almost 400,000 cases mediated in the court proceeding. Only in 2019, only a single year. So you can see that the mediation is so popular in Thailand, we have kind of like 1.2 million civil cases in totally in the court system, and almost 400,000 cases are resolved in the court attached mediation proceeding. All right, and I give you some number about the mediation cases conducted out of the court proceeding in 2019. There are about 50,000 cases conducted, mediated out of the court. And this is under the Department of Intellectual Property. This is under the Department of Execution. This is under the Department of Rights and Liberty Protection, Office of Insurance Commission, Thailand Arbitration Center, and Thailand Arbitration Institute. All together, we have only 50,000 cases. You can see the number, the big difference between the court attached mediation and the out of court mediation. All right. For the Singapore Convention or SCG, Thai government right now has prepared for accession to the convention. In 2019, in 2018, or the number in the presentation is wrong. I'm so sorry. In 2018, after SCG was adopted right away, the government has set up a committee to consider and prepare Thailand to become a part of SCG. Office of the Judiciary of Thailand, Ministry of Justice of Thailand, and Ministry of Foreign Affairs are the main parts of this committee. As of today, the current update, the committee are of the opinion that in order to comply with the SCG, a new bill, so-called International Commercial Mediation Act, must be put in place in response to SCG. So this is one of the reasons why Thailand right now is not access to the SCG, because they think that if we would like to accession to the convention, then we have to have the new bill, the new law first. All right. For the so-called International Commercial Mediation Act, it was drafted by the Office of the Judiciary, and right now, as far as we know, they said that the process of drafting has done, but they have some internal process to propose this bill to the head of the Office of the Judiciary, and after the head of the Office of the Judiciary approve the first draft, the draft will be submitted to the committee very soon. For the draft itself, it covers not only the enforcement of international agreement, but covers the whole picture as it replicates the Singapore Convention. All right. For Thai International Commercial Mediation Act, as I said, the first draft will be soon submitted to the committee and will be jointly discussed with the Ministry of Justice and Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And for sure, I think they will request for some comments or some observation from Thailand Arbitration Center, which I act as the managing director right now, because our center is the only organization providing service in international mediation, and we think that we will play a crucial role to provide comments on the draft. One issue right now, which is concerned by some government agency, is that Singapore Convention includes the settlement agreement concluded by the government agency, but some government agency they are not feel good because for me, I think the Singapore Convention is so new for them, and they don't feel comfortable to be a part of the Singapore Convention. I think this issue will be a part to discuss heavily in the committee, and I think some might propose the exclusion of settlement agreement concluded by the governmental agency, and for the reservation of the governmental agencies settlement agreement, I think it will eliminate some concern for Thai government agencies. And I would like to give a conclusion to give you all the picture I have presented. For me, I think overall, Thailand has a friendly environment and strong background on mediation. But anyway, Thailand has not much experience in international mediation, and as I said, out of court mediation. But anyway, I think there is no problem. And we are so progressive in preparing ourselves to join the new international dispute resolution regime created by Singapore Convention. And I think THAC will play an active role in international commercial mediation, and would propose to support the joining of Singapore Convention. And for me, for us, Thailand Arbitration Center, we think that Singapore Convention will promote the international business as well as world economy and Thailand's economy too. And Thailand, for my personal view right now, is willing to support the joining as a member of the Singapore Convention. Thank you so much, and I think my brief about Thailand situation and Thai idea about Singapore Convention will give you some picture about Thailand right now relating to Singapore Convention. Thank you so much for all of your attention, and I give you the floor back to Marcus.
Thank you, Pasit. Thank you very much.
Thank you, my pleasure.
It was a very, very good presentation.
Thank you so
I
much.
think very few people hear about the history of mediation in Thailand, and I definitely found it very interesting that the monks were actually mediators.
Yeah. It was a long time ago, but anyway, in our present time, sometimes when people feel that they are aggrieved by the dispute and they find no one to help them, sometimes they turn to monks to help them. And sometimes, monks are how could I say, are very authoritative for people in rural area or in remote area, because people there give a very high respect to monks. And when monks ask you to come to talk to the other party, you have to go. You know that. You can imagine.
It's hard to say no, right?
Yeah.
That's really amazing, because it's very reflective of the culture of Thailand, right? And
Yep,
how deep Buddhism is in Thailand's culture. But it's also great. Maybe we should consider asking some support from them, the Singapore Convention.
Marcus, a few years ago, we organized a mediation training course, and we invited a trainer from, maybe I don't remember exactly, but I think it would be from Hong Kong Mediation Center, and a number of monks, I think more than 3 monks, joined the training course because they think that, yeah, it would be essential for them, to be a part of community, something like that. And I asked them, they said that it was good for them, for monks, to learn about techniques in mediating cases. Yes, you can see that.
Yes. I think that's very important, right? Community support. which is and if I'm not wrong, some of the monks, they are not monks forever. Like I think they come out, some of them,
Yeah.
they
Yeah,
right.
some of them. Yeah, right.
So when they come back into society, they will bring that experience with them, back to business or wherever it is that they go back to.
Probably,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah.
But you know that not every monk do that, right?
Not
the
everyone.
monk, yeah, not everyone, but
Not
only the
everyone.
monk who's willing to do that. And you know,
Yes.
in the city like Bangkok, Chiang Mai, or big city, this kind of tradition may be gone. But in rural country
Oh.
or remote area, it's still there.
So that's really fascinating. Now, we do have some questions, and I'm going to read out the questions for you, but
Okay.
you can actually see them. You should be able to see them on your screen as well. So
Okay.
we have one question here from Yang Cheng Si, who says, how is THAC intending to support BOI initiative of targeted industries, ADR? In case of the experts working in ADR, how can THAC assist in verifying certified mediators?
All right, this is a very good. This is a very good question. Actually, BOI, they think about big industry. They never turn themselves to the arbitration or mediation, but only when THAC approached them a few years ago, talking about bringing in experts for mediation and arbitration to Thailand. We will learn more about arbitration and mediation internationally, and I think it would bring some process in terms of money to the Thai kingdom. And after we convince them for a while, and then they believe us, and then they push for inserting the expert in mediation and arbitration as a group of needed experts in the measure we call the smart visa, which will give a grace period like 4 years for the expert in mediation or arbitration who would like to practice in Thailand can acquire for the smart visa. But after only you can get certification from THAC or from Thailand Arbitration Institute. So the law of THAC right now is to certify the people who would like to come to Thailand to practice arbitration or mediation that they are experts and they have good value to bring them into Thailand, something like that. And if we give a certification to those people, the BOI will give them the smart visa, which will give them the period to stay in Thailand for 4 years, something like that.
Okay, so that's really interesting because that I think will help a lot for people who are coming in. We have another question from Teruo Kato. And I think this is a question that I think you mentioned a little bit in your presentation, how people in Thailand don't quite trust settlements from mediation outside of the court, right? So Teruo Kato's question is, in many jurisdictions, settlement agreements are normally valid and enforceable just like a contract. So he's asking, or rather Teruo Kato is asking, whether the situation is different in Thailand. Why is it that people feel, I guess, that it's not enforceable? Because if they trust a contract, why wouldn't they trust a settlement agreement?
Yep. I would say that it doesn't mean that they don't trust the mediation outside of the court, but because in their perspective, they think that if you done settlement agreement out of the court, and then you bring that settlement agreement to the court to enforce. If either party that breaches the settlement agreement, right? The party who were to enforce the settlement agreement, they have to go to the court. And if they bring the settlement agreement to the court, it is in their belief. They believe that if they bring the settlement agreement to the court. The court does not look only to the settlement agreement. The court will review all the original debt or all the original obligation.
Okay.
I think this is their belief. I don't believe that, but I asked a number of lawyers. They said that if you bring the settlement agreement to the court will ask you, how did you do the original obligation between the parties? And they will go to review the validity of the original obligation. That's why they think that it is the settlement agreement outside of the court. Do nothing for them, right? Because you go to the court,
do it again.
The court review all the things again. That is their belief. I don't believe that, but some lawyers, they say that, but we don't have some kind of like a scientific evidence to prove that. Because sometimes I ask judges, they say that, no. We are still with the law. The law in Thailand are the same thing. Daruto said, the settlement agreement, if it is valid, it can enforce in the court of law. There is no problem. It will be enforced as a contract. This is our law in present. But because in practice, the lawyers and most people, they don't believe that the court will enforce it as a contract. The court will review the original obligation again. That is the belief. And we try to collect evidence from the judgment, from the ruling of the court, but it is very difficult to find them. But anyway, THAC is working hard to collect this kind of evidence to overcome their belief in that way. And we believe that if we can overcome that kind of belief, we can promote the use of the mediation outside of the court more and more.
Yeah, I think this will not actually be, I mean, what you just said is probably not going to be just something that happens in Thailand. I think people outside in other countries also may share a similar worry that even if you sign on to the convention, will the courts, on the ground, will they cooperate, or will they do something like this? And all you need is one case or two cases, and that makes people feel that they can't trust the process, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But sometimes judges are very hard to.
Yes, I know.
I think we have the same situation.
Yes. And you used to be a judge, so you have worked with them,
Yeah, that's why they kick me out.
You are converted.
I'm kidding.
Yeah, I know. But it's always, I mean, the judges, they always have a lot of things on their mind as well. There's a lot of things they're worried about. They don't want to do away with a process, and they're very careful. They don't want to overstep the powers that they've been given. I feel that that's always a big concern.
Yeah, for me, I think judges has a good intention. Sometimes they think about fairness, and they think that it is only fairness. It's the palm things for all the parties, something like that.
Yeah.
That's why. Yeah.
But thank you for sharing. Thank you. Next question we have from George Keng Jusing, and thank you, George, for giving this question, because he's saying, how can SIMI, which is our organization, complement, and I would add maybe support or help Thailand with its current mediation processes? And I think more specifically with the upcoming, as you mentioned, moving to the SCM, signing, what can SIMI do? And I guess not just SIMI, but any International Mediation Institute.
Sure. Actually, we have a very good relationship with the Singapore Mediation Center. They sent someone over a few years ago, Seng Ong. He sent someone over to Bangkok to give short training courses, and he occasionally sends someone over to speak in our mediation seminar. So we have a very good relationship with each other, and actually we are planning to have a collaboration agreement with the Singapore International Mediation Center but all things are wind up because of the
COVID.
19.
Yeah.
After the
Yes.
COVID is relieved, maybe we can come back and continue talking about our collaboration again. So
yeah, and I know that even between us, when we were in Paris earlier this year,
sure.
who knew the last time we would be I would be traveling would be then. We were
Same
talking about, right? We were
yeah,
talking about SIMI supporting the competitions in Thailand,
right,
right?
right.
So hopefully that also comes true.
Yeah, it is a very pity for me. Actually, at the first place, when we came back, when we met in Paris, and I came back, I proposed the projects to all my team, and they were so excited to have this kind of competition in Thailand, because it would be the first international mediation competition in Thailand.
That's
But
right.
yeah, because of the situation of COVID, and as we talk, Marcus, you remember that at the first place we would like to organize that in this month. It would,
Yes.
yeah, this month
Yes.
in July, but I don't think it is a good time for having
Yeah.
this kind of event. So we decided to postpone it to till next year. Next July,
Yeah.
and I think everything will be in place, and we're gonna have we will have a very good competition in Thailand, and
Yes.
I hope to see you in that event.
For sure, we'll be there to support.
Okay,
We've already been supporting what we can from here with Benyapa and the rest of the team. So we
thank you so
definitely
much.
will want to support. I mean, I enjoyed myself coming to THAC's last event, I think in 2018, if I'm not wrong. There was
Yeah,
the panel. Yeah, that
a
was
long
not
time
bad.
ago.
Long time ago. Yeah. But that was good.
Yeah, yeah, good. You should come to Thailand like 5 to 6 times a year.
Well, we would love to, and we will bring our SIMI mediators with us. I'm sure we
Right.
can find many things for them to do.
Yes, please come. Maybe we can arrange some kind like training here. That it
Yeah,
will be good. Yeah, right.
I would love to learn from the monks actually.
Sure, sure. I can bring some monks for you to interview. Why not?
Okay, let's see. Another question from Zach Song. Can a party demand a mediation from the Thai court? And how would the court deal with it?
A party can always ask for a mediation, and judges will love it, because judges believe that the case, whenever the case is resolved fairly, it will be a good performance of judges. So anytime, even though in the next few days you will have a judgment uh, read in the court, and if you think that, oh, no, judge, I don't want the decision to be read in the court, we would like to resolve it friendly, resolve it amicably by mediation, the court will set up the proceeding right away for you, and it will suspend the reading of the court's decision for you. So no problem, anytime. And sometimes the judges, they urge, they encourage you to resolve the dispute by mediation anytime. Yeah.
Okay,
I think
yeah,
it is
so
the last step.
that's very nice. I think it's great that they're actually encouraging it.
Yeah.
We have a question from Baldesh Singh, who says, when it comes to the concern of including enforceable settlement agreements conducted by government agencies, aren't there opt-in, opt-out measures in the SCM that could address those?
Mm-hmm. I actually, frankly speaking, I don't know why they are so concerned, but some of them, some of them, they talk about that issue. But as I said, maybe it is because the SCM is the new thing for them. They are not used to it, so they're afraid
Yeah,
of using it. They are afraid of applying it to their daily life, something like that. So they
yep.
think that if you can exclude them from the convention, it will be good for them. I think, for me, I think if we can educate them good enough, they will understand the function, the functionality of the SCM, and I think finally they will accept it. I don't think they will have any exclusion for the governmental agencies settlement agreement. I don't know why why we need that kind of exclusion. But anyway, we see.
Could be a mindset. They're so used to thinking in a certain way, right? Yeah.
Right.
Could be.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on to the next question from Jason Tay. He asks whether there have been any mediation cases relating to the Belt and Road in Thailand.
In Thailand, as far as I know, I don't think we have one because mostly mediation cases are court attached mediation proceedings. So I don't think the mediation cases will for international mediation case will be conducted in the court right now.
In the court, okay.
Yeah, this is as far as I know.
Okay.
But it is a good question. Maybe we try to explore this kind of question and find you a better answer than this.
So we're glad that we do have very good questions this evening, right? Sometimes sometimes you're not sure, but this is also, we hope, going to create more interest in new angles in thinking about mediation, both in Thailand and in Singapore, and around the world as well.
Exactly.
One question, I think coming to the last few questions now, we have one from Sun Hok, who is asking whether Singapore mediators, how can they participate in commercial mediation in Thailand?
Wow. I don't think there is any experience from a Singapore mediator in Thailand. Only just one case in my center a few months ago, but it is not a commercial mediation. It is a family mediation. And the parties are foreigners, but it is a family dispute, right? Husband and wife, actually they are separated, but they have some problems about their separation. So they would like to do some mediation, and they are foreigners living in Thailand. They would like to conduct the mediation in English, and they know some good mediators in family dispute in Singapore, and they would like to invite that specific mediator come to Thailand to mediate their dispute. So they came to us and they asked us whether we can do that. We said, yeah, we could do that. We have a very good relationship with Singapore Mediation Center, and for this mediator, we don't think we have a problem to bring her in to Thailand to resolve this dispute for those husbands and wife. And she came to THAC. She conducted the mediation proceeding one day, and the case is resolved. Good news.
Nice. Yeah, I think actually that is a very good point. Yeah, because you do have a lot of expats and foreigners working for a long time in Thailand.
Yeah, right. And after this case, then we discuss about the future, and maybe we will have a seminar or a training in the family disputes. Yeah, and I think we can work with maybe Singapore Mediation Center, or maybe some mediators in Singapore to bring in some training, to bring in some knowledge, to share the experience, to promote. Maybe right now, particularly the family disputes in Thailand, because I learned that from this dispute, I learned that there are a lot of similar disputes in Thailand. because there are a lot of foreigners living in Thailand. Maybe they face the similar problem, and they find no way to resolve the problem in a cost-effective way. And THAC can help them with a collaboration with Singapore, probably.
Yeah, and actually, there are a lot of Thai people working in Singapore as well. Definitely, there's many Thai restaurants in Singapore. We definitely love Thai food.
Exactly.
And if they need help, they will also prefer, I'm sure, to have someone from THAC, from Thailand, right?
Yeah.
So this kind of exchange will be very helpful for people in both countries.
Sure.
Yeah.
This is a good project. We will do it.
We should, right? We should.
Yeah, I got a new project. Okay.
Okay, so I think that is it for the questions that we have so far. Laura, are you coming back on to ask any questions for IMI?
I will ask my favorite question, and I know Marcus also enjoys this. So, Pasit, I mean, what do you hope for mediation in Thailand in the next 10 years?
In the next 10 years, I think it will get a huge improvement from now on, because people, they learn, I could say that they learn little by little, and they know the benefit of using mediation. But as I said, the influence of court over mediation process has been a very long time ago. So sometimes they look at the court and they think that we have to go to the court first and use mediation in the court. And then right now we educate them more and more, and we give them a true experience from a real case, which taken place in our center. And I think more education giving to them, and more effective way to conduct mediation outside of the court, giving them a real picture. So I think in the next 10 years, I think mediation is flourish in Thailand for sure, because people in Thailand, they love talking. They don't want to go to the court, but they think that if they go to the court, they can have more choices in the court, right? If the mediation fails, they can continue, they can try the case right away, something like that. And if they go to do the mediation in the court, and if it is successful, they get a settlement agreement, the court will endorse the settlement agreement, and they can enforce it right away, something like that. This is the perception right now. But I think after they learn little by little, they will change their attitude in having mediation outside of the court.
Super. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. So I think that's it, right, Laura, for the questions that we have. Thank you very much, Pasit. Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. And we hope that you all enjoyed and had a good time hearing from Pasit about Thailand and mediation.
And thank you so much, Laura. Thank you so much, Marcus. And thank you, Jess, for organizing this event, this wonderful event. It is my first time to have Zoom internationally. Thank for you all to give me my first experience.
It's our pleasure. It's our pleasure. Of many more, I am sure. Of many more.
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Good day. Good night. Bye-bye.
Good night.